What's up guys, and welcome back to it. It's an update video slash Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire speculation video, I guess. You know, I'm stylizing it that, but it's more of an update video. There's been some news. Some news has been revealed. Or, you know, not really news, but something the Pokemon Company has done has come to light. They have registered a new trademark. We've heard about the trademarks before, haven't we guys? We saw Poketouch be registered. They've registered trademarks like Pokémon Fighters and stuff like that. We haven't seen that quite yet. But usually when they register trademarks, they're a good indication of stuff that either thinking of doing or going to do. You have to register trademarks so no one else can steal the name pretty much. So obviously this is a good indication of maybe they're thinking about doing it, maybe they're just sort of doing it just in case they want to do it in the future, or maybe they're actually going to do it. What's the trademark they've registered, you're asking? They have registered a trademark for, I'm guessing, a game. I don't know, the trademark is just for the thing, but they've registered a trademark for Pokémon Delta Emerald. It's in Japan, but, you know, if we can assume if it goes over to the US, it's going to be, you know, sort of thing. But Pokémon Delta Emerald. That's the trademark they have registered the name for. So, that will very much fit in with a Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as I'll explain in a minute. But what is Delta Emerald? What is it, guys? Who knows? What idea is it? We don't quite know yet. So we know we have a word, or you know, a name of a game, Delta Emerald. Nothing more than that. That's all we know. What could it mean? Okay. Before I go on to speculating what it means, I'm going to look back at the previous generations and sort of see what we've got here. Okay, starting off in Gen 3 we have, obviously Ruby and Sapphire came out as the new generation of the game, of the Pokemon sort of franchise, I guess. New generation, you know, start bringing in home Pokemon, everything like that. That was followed up by, I believe, Fire Red Leaf Green came next, if I'm right in thinking that. And obviously those are the remakes of the original games, and they were put in so you can get all the Pokemon, or majority of the Pokemon, I think. And obviously, yeah, they had that there, so it went new generation, then the remakes, and then we had Pokemon Emerald, which was a sequel to Ruby and Sapphire, and that's how that generation went. Then we got on to Generation 4. We started off again with the new generation Diamond and Pearl, because, you know, you got to start off with a new generation generally. You can't not do it, I guess. And then that was followed up by Platinum, which was a sequel. So instead of having the sequel after the remakes, they had the sequel first. They just, I guess, decided to switch it up a bit. We had Platinum, that was a sequel to Diamond and Pearl, and then those were followed up by Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which were the remakes of, obviously, Gold and Silver back in the day. So we have sort of that. So very similar outsets, remake or new gen, remakes, and sequel. That's what we had, 3 sets of games. Obviously switched around, but yeah. In Generation 5 it was a bit different because we just got a new generation in black and white, and then we got some sequels in black 2 and white 2. So it was slightly different then. You know, obviously it wasn't exactly the same pattern, I guess. And obviously there was no remakes there in that generation for some reason. I guess they were just waiting for the 3DS, and most likely what they were actually doing, waiting for the 3DS to do Ruby and Sapphire remix or whatever. It's my suspicion, at least. Then we come on to Generation 6. Obviously we have X and Y being a new generation there. Then we have Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire being the remakes. So, you know, that's there. What's Delta Emerald doing is, you know, I saw this on IGN's website. They were like, maybe Delta Emerald is going to be released alongside Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I'm like, what? No, why would they release it alongside it? That's completely stupid, because it's a different game entirely. So Pokemon fans would have to play 2 games at once rather than getting, you know, obviously Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire you would be playing 2 games at once, but they would have completely different storylines. So you might be playing through Omega Ruby and having the storyline of Magma, well, not completely different, you get what I mean there, but you know, you'd have 2 stories going on in 2 games rather than just with the same story in you know, sort of 2 side-by-side games, if you get what I mean there, guys. So, what is Delta Emerald going to be? You know, obviously we can assume if it's going to be a game, guys. There's no obviously there's no confirmation here. It's a game. There is no confirmation it's a game at all. All we've got there is the trademark for Pokemon Delta Emerald. So my suspicion, this is my speculation, guys. We can see if it comes to light in the end. It might not at all. It might be completely wrong. But it's just what I'm thinking is Delta Emerald will come out maybe a year or 2 after Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which obviously came out this November, so they might come out in 2015, or they might come out in 2016, or I guess there's one game, might come out in 2016. My suspicion for Delta Emerald is it's going to be a sequel to X and Y and a remake of Pokemon Emerald. Let that sink in a bit, guys. So a sequel, no, not a sequel, a remake to Pokemon Emerald. So hence the Pokemon Emerald storyline remade, exactly as Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are going to be done with Ruby and Sapphire there. But also a sequel to X and Y. How does that work? Well, maybe you have Hone as the main story, the main game story, you know, start off at Hone, have the Emerald storyline as usual, and then after that you can travel to Kalos, and then you got a whole new area in Kalos sort of thing, or maybe, or just something like that, you know, you have Hone there and you have Kalos as an after game region, so it's 2 games in one, but obviously it's just sort of combined Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That would make it fairly easy for the Pokemon you know, creation team, because all they'd have to do is get the region from X and Y, get the region from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, obviously adjust a few things, switch them up, and you just sort of link them together. They wouldn't have to make a new region at all. So it's not like they have to go through the whole stress of making 2 regions just for 1 game. They would just have to basically put the games together. That's how it would go. Delta Emerald. So, Delta Emerald. Let's look at the name next, okay? So obviously we have Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Omega is the last, obviously I'm talking about this in a future video as well. If we go to the Greek alphabet quickly, Omega is the last letter in the Greek alphabet. Greek alphabet is often used for stuff in physics, science, chemistry, maths, whatever. So there's a lot of, you know, you've got Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta, Eta, Theta, Iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, or Mu, Nu, Z, Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Upsilon, Phi, Psi, Psi, and Omega. So Omega there is the last letter in the Greek alphabet. Alpha, on the other hand, is the first. Delta is the 4th. So it's not exactly in the middle or anything, so it doesn't make a huge amount of sense in terms of that. But Delta is often used for, you know, when you see Delta, it's the capital for a delta is a triangle, and the lowercase for delta is a squiggly D. And the triangle is often used, you'll see it everywhere for, you know, stuff like that. It's used for difference in, generally. It's, you know, you see dx by dt, if you guys, you know, have done some sort of maths like that, it means difference in x, divided by difference in t, stuff like that. It represents difference, it represents change, okay? So that could also be linking to sort of the fact that Kalos and Hone, it's a change. It's a change from the usual setup they have. Usually, obviously it was different in Generation 5 as well, but it's a change from the usual setup there. Usually we have New Generation, Sequel, Remake, or New Generation, Remakes, Sequels. Now we've got New Generation, Remakes, Sequel, and Remakes. It's a difference, it's a change. So Delta could be referencing that there. So that would, you know, be sort of similar in that sense. And then that's all I've got for Delta right there, guys. But obviously I'll probably make a future video talking more about Delta and how it might link in to Omega and Alpha and whatever. But generally, that's the thing. Also, I uploaded a video, probably yesterday, depending on when this video goes up, a video about Rayquaza and Zygarde, and the similarities between them, that's the one, and the fact that Zygarde and Rayquaza are very different, you know. Rayquaza guards the air, sort of maintains the weather, Zygarde maintains the undergroundness, sort of, you know, the ecosystem, really. So they're very similar Pokemon, so as I mentioned in that video actually, another game involving both Zygarde and Rayquaza would be very, very, it would make sense. Let's say it would make sense. And obviously, if we have Delta Emerald starting in Hone, you do the Rayquaza storyline, and then you get sent to Kalos to rescue Kalos because it's, you know, something's happened there, and you have the Zygarde storyline there, and obviously that'd be more focused on Zygarde, Xerneas and Yveltal, maybe Team Flares come back, and sort of messed up the ecosystem there, something along those lines, guys. Or maybe Team Magma and Team Aqua are going to mess stuff up in Hone and try and make it rain or whatever, and then they go over to Kalos and the remnants of it, or maybe instead of Archie and Maxie sort of giving up after Hone, they just run straight to Kalos and do some more stuff there. Say you're then sent to the Kalos region to battle them in there as well. I guess could be a sense, or not necessarily sent there, but asked if you can go there. That would make a lot of sense in my opinion, guys. You know, I'm really excited about the possibilities for this now. I think it's a very big possibility. I want it to happen after Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, get a remake of Emerald and a sequel to X and Y in the same game. That would make a hell of a lot of sense, because arguably Emerald is better than Ruby and Sapphire because of sort of the extended storyline. You have 2 evil teams rather than just a single one. They sort of link together a bit more easily and whatnot. So an Emerald sequel, in my opinion, would be better than, oops, just dropping stuff on the floor. An Emerald sequel, Emerald remake rather, would be much better, in my opinion, than a Ruby and Sapphire remake, because Emerald is the better storyline, I guess, if in a way. I never played Ruby and Sapphire as a kid, I only played Emerald, so I guess that's where that's stemming from. But that would make a lot of sense. They also need to make a sequel to X and Y. They sort of need to do that. Pokemon Z it was predicted, it was, you know, stuff like that. they could then mix it in with Pokemon Delta Emerald. You know, you could put, it might be, I don't know, they might be trying out Delta as a certain, I guess, you know, just Delta in a term of saying it. There's no Z in the well, there is actually Zeta, so Zeta Emerald would work quite well, I think, in my opinion. Obviously, Pokemon Zeta, the fan-made game, comes in there, but Pokemon Zeta Emerald would also make sense, in my opinion. That would make a lot more sense if they were going to include Zygarde in it, but they might not like the name, or something, you know, Japanese might be different or something. I don't quite know exactly. I'm sort of speculating here. But I think, in my opinion, it would make a hell of a lot of sense if it was both a remake and a sequel. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of Pokemon Delta Emerald? Do you think it's just a trademark they've taken out just in case? Do you think they're planning on making a remake and a sequel after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire? Do you think it's just going to be a remake? Obviously, we can you know, predict there's not going to be a full remake this time. If they were going to do both a remake and a sequel, it can't be a full remake because then you have to go to Kalos afterwards. But you guys get what I mean there. So they could have Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire being exact remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, so nothing different at all, exactly the same Pokemon, no Gen 6 Pokemon, whatever, nothing different at all, maybe apart from maybe one or two things, no Mega Evolutions kind of thing, and then in Pokemon Delta Emerald integrate all the Mega Evolutions, all different Pokemon everywhere, sort of thing, because it wouldn't be a full remake, if you get what I mean there, guys. But yes, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Would you want to see a game that was both sequel and a remake, that had 2 regions in it and everything like that? Because obviously, when we had Heart Gold and Soul Silver as the remakes, they had 2 regions, so people might be used to that, if you get what I mean there. But let me know in the comments, guys. I'm interested to see what you all think. Let me know if you want to make some more speculation videos regarding Delta Emerald, and maybe, you know, what I think in particular might come out of it, or whatever. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want down below. Apart from that, guys, I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.